97 out of every 100 people will never live the life they truly want. Not because they weren't smart enough, not because they didn't have potential, but because they settled for routines that dulled their fire, settled for jobs that paid their bills but starved their soul, settled for weekends of distraction and lives filled with silent regret. And the worst part, they didn't even realize it was happening, because mediocrity doesn't show up like a thief, it shows up like a friend. It makes comfort feel like safety. It makes average look like success. It whispers, "You're doing just fine," while stealing every ounce of greatness from your future. Imagine this. You're 70. You're looking back on your life, and it hits you not like a crash, but like a quiet wave of cold truth. You were meant for more, and you didn't go after it. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't. You waited. You overthought. You let fear masquerade as logic. And while the clock kept ticking, you stayed the same. That is the fate of 97%. And unless you make a decision, not tomorrow, now, you will become one of them. Because here's the truth. The average life is easy to get. The exceptional life is built in blood. It's built in 5 a.m. wake-ups, in 10 p.m. work sessions, in unglamorous sacrifices and unseen commitments. The 3% aren't lucky. They're just relentless. They don't need to be told what to do, they decide. They don't need motivation, they've got vision. They don't ask for permission, they move. And that mindset, that hunger, it doesn't come by accident. It comes from seeing the truth most ignore. Life will not reward your intentions. It only rewards your execution. Most people spend their entire life getting ready, reading more, waiting for the right time, building the perfect plan. And while they prepare endlessly, life passes them by. Ask yourself, how many times have you said, "I'll start Monday. I'll launch when I'm ready. I just need to figure things out first." Now count how many times you actually did. That's the gap between 97% and 3%. The 3% don't wait to feel ready. They move before it's perfect. They act before the plan is finished. They fail publicly, grow privately, and repeat. Why? Because they understand what most people don't. Average is comfortable, but greatness is costly. It costs your weekends. It costs your distractions. It costs your approval from the crowd that fears ambition. But you know what it gives you? Freedom, power, legacy, peace. The kind of peace you only get when you know you didn't waste your life watching other people live theirs. Look, this world is noisy. Everyone is talking, posting, comparing, pretending. But while they're doing all that, who's actually building? Who's waking up early to master their craft? Who's turning off their phone to protect their focus? Who's sacrificing temporary pleasure for permanent pride? That's who rises. That's who earns a life most only dream of. And here's what they know. The enemy isn't failure. The enemy is comfort. Because comfort will keep you stuck in a routine you hate, surrounded by people you've outgrown, working on dreams that don't even belong to you. Comfort will make you forget you ever had a fire in the first place. But deep down, you know it's still there. That voice, that tension, that vision you keep seeing when the noise fades and the truth gets loud. That's not fantasy. That's the real you, fighting to break through the version of you the world has tried to shape. And the only way that version lives is if you kill the version that's waiting for clarity, waiting for help, waiting for a sign. This is the sign. The clock is ticking. The window is closing. And every second you spend hesitating, you give average 1 more inch of your future. You can be safe, or you can be seen. You can be liked, or you can be legendary. But you cannot be both. And the moment you accept that, The moment you decide to burn the bridge back to the ordinary, everything changes. Because you'll stop trying to be the best in the room and start demanding to be the best in your own mind. That's where the 3% live. Not in arrogance, in alignment. They don't chase results. They chase identity. They don't ask, how do I win? They ask, who must I become to never lose? And then they become that person every single day with ruthless discipline while the rest keep hoping for a shortcut. So ask yourself, are you trying to do more? Or are you finally ready to become more? Because one is about effort. The other is about identity. And until you shift who you are at the core, you'll keep slipping back into old patterns, old habits, old excuses that wear new disguises. This is why most people stay average. They chase hacks instead of habits. They change routines without changing who's running them. They upgrade everything except their mindset. But you, if you're still listening to this, you're not like most people. There's a reason this message is gripping your soul. There's a reason it hurts. There's a reason it makes your chest feel heavy and your heart feel lit. Because deep down, you know it's time. Time to stop tweaking the surface. Time to stop lying to yourself about how busy you are. Time to stop blaming your past, your parents, your pain, your city, your job, your situation. Time to stop hiding behind your story and start rewriting it. Because the truth is this: no one is coming. Not the mentor, not the opportunity, not the magic moment. You're the answer you've been waiting for. You are the builder. You are the weapon. You are the spark. And that's terrifying until it's liberating. Because when you finally take ownership, I mean complete, brutal, radical ownership, your life becomes your responsibility. Not the algorithm, not your boss, not your upbringing, yours. And in that moment, you stop asking for the way and you start becoming the way. Discipline becomes your language. Focus becomes your armor. Vision becomes your compass. You no longer need approval because you've already approved of yourself. You no longer wait for validation because your actions confirm your beliefs. You no longer fear failure because you understand. Failure is the tuition for mastery. Everyone wants success. Few are willing to pay for it. The payment, your comfort, your habits, your lesser self. The reward, peace, power, pride, not the shallow kind of pride, the real kind, the kind that lets you look in the mirror and say, I showed up when it mattered. That's what separates the 3%. They don't need to be forced. They don't need to be hyped. They've made a decision, and that decision doesn't need to be remade daily. It's final. It's rooted. It's real. And yes, they still get tired. They still doubt. They still feel fear. But they've trained their spirit to act anyway. That's the difference. Not emotion, but execution. Because while the 97% react, the 3% respond. They respond to adversity with action. They respond to failure with refinement. They respond to setbacks with strategy. They don't whine. They adjust. And when the average say, it's too late, it's too hard, it's not fair, the uncommons say, good. That means most people won't try. Good. That means there's less noise. Good. That means this path is worth it. Because they know that comfort is the graveyard of greatness. So they burn the bridge back to who they used to be, and they don't build another. This isn't motivation. This is war. A quiet daily war between the version of you who's settling and the version of you who refuses to. The question is, which version wins tomorrow morning? When the alarm goes off, when the work feels thankless, when no one is cheering and no one is watching, who shows up? Because that answer will tell you everything. It will show you exactly which path you're on, the one to legacy or the one to just existing. So how do you escape the 97%? You stop hoping and you start executing with precision. You stop waiting for motivation and you start moving like a machine even when your heart's not in it yet. You stop asking for clarity from the outside and you start forging clarity through action. You don't need to know the whole path. You just need to take the next step. Clarity isn't found in thought. It's found in movement. The fog only clears for the one who's walking, not the one standing still with their arms folded, waiting for signs from the sky. You want to know why most people stay stuck? Because they try to think their way into greatness. They try to intellectualize their destiny. But your future doesn't respond to thoughts. It responds to steps. It responds to the moment you say, I don't care if I'm scared. I don't care if I'm uncertain. I'm going anyway. That's the beginning of belief. Not some abstract idea floating in your head, but conviction earned through action. And once you start moving with clarity, you'll start feeling something you haven't felt in years. Momentum, not the kind that's loud, not the kind that gets likes, but the quiet internal thunder that says, I'm on the path, I know it, I feel it, I'm becoming it. And here's what separates the elite. They protect that momentum like it's sacred, because it is. The moment they feel distraction creeping in, they cut it. The moment they feel mediocrity knocking, they lock the door. The moment they feel weak habits returning, they get louder with their discipline, because they know how easy it is to slide backward. One skipped morning becomes two. One excuse becomes a mindset. One I'll start next week becomes 5 years of regret. And regret is a slow, suffocating pain. It doesn't scream. It doesn't punch. It just waits. It waits until the window closes, until the body gives out, until the dream dies quietly, without fanfare. And then it whispers, you could have been more. Don't let that be your story. Don't become the one who had all the tools, all the gifts, all the fire, but lacked the follow-through. Don't spend your life wondering what might have happened if you had just started when you had the chance. That chance is now. It always has been. The world owes you nothing, but it will respond to one thing: decision, not hoping, not dreaming, not trying. Deciding, the decision that says, I don't care what they think. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how uncomfortable it gets. I will rise. I will execute. I will never be average again. And no, you won't feel ready every day. There will be mornings you hate the process, nights when doubt pounds on your door, seasons where results don't match your effort. But those seasons are sacred. They are the refining fire. They are not here to break you. They're here to build a version of you that can hold what you say you want. Because anyone can grind when it's easy. Anyone can believe when it's working. Anyone can act when the results show up fast. But real greatness, it's built in the drought, when the seeds haven't sprouted, when no one is clapping, when all you have is your vision, your habits, and your fight. That's when the 3% are born. That's where warriors are forged, where legends are made, where belief becomes bone deep. Because you didn't just say you wanted it, you proved it with every disciplined morning, with every uncomfortable action, with every step forward in the dark. So here it is, the raw truth most people will never tell you. No one is holding you back but you. Not your job, not your upbringing, not your resources, not your past. You, your decisions, your distractions, your discipline or lack of it. Your willingness to settle, to delay, to water down the intensity you were born with. And if you don't face that now, you'll carry it for the rest of your life. You'll become one of them, the 97%, the ones who look back and say, I could have, I almost, I wish, but you are not most people. Not if you've made it this far. Not if your soul is still on fire right now. Not if something inside you is still whispering more. Because more is real. It's not a fantasy. It's not a motivational phrase. It's your birthright, but only if you're willing to bleed for it. The truth is, most will never get there. Because most are terrified to burn the old version of themselves to build the one they were meant to become. But that's the only way. You must bury the version of you that made excuses, the one that needed approval, the one that lived for comfort, the one that clung to average while secretly dreaming of greatness. You must bury them today and leave no grave marker, because the new you isn't interested in returning. The new you is too focused, too committed, too aligned, too alive. And when the world sees that version of you, they'll feel it. Not because you shouted, not because you begged, but because you became undeniable. You'll walk into every room with clarity. You'll speak with conviction. You'll move like you know who you are because finally you do. You won't wait for signs. You become the sign. You won't ask for opportunities. You'll create them. You won't hope for greatness. You'll own it step by step, breath by breath, battle by battle. So if you're ready, if you're done with smallness, if you're tired of waking up with the weight of untapped potential, then make the decision now. I will not be average. I will not die wondering. I will not be another name lost to fear, doubt, and delay. I will believe. I will build. I will become. And if you needed a sign, this is it. Now it's your move. And if this message shook you, if something inside you woke up for the first time in years, and subscribe now. Not just to this channel. Subscribe to a new identity, a new standard, a new way of living that no longer apologizes for being powerful. Click the button. Turn on notifications. Come back often and feed the fire, because you weren't made to fit in. You were made to lead. And your time starts now.